Alright folks, how are we doing? It's your Bash. Welcome back to the channel. It's Orna once again, and it is January again. Happy New Year to you and all your close friends and family. Wishing you all the best before we get into this event roundup for the month of January. One of my favorite event months actually, and that is of course the Rise of the Phoenix. Some absolutely awesome things on offer during this month. Some new things as well introduced by the Northern Forge team. So pretty exciting. And we're gonna, I guess, jump right into it. I mean, what have we got here? We've got two followers, tier 8 and tier 10. So, okay, fairly established players will be wanting to get these. Not such a low tier pet. What am I typing here? Phoenix. This will do it. And okay, we've got the Ashen Phoenix, which is the tier 10 pet, and we have the tier 8 Phoenix pet. And this thing is an absolute monster. The biggest thing about the Phoenix, both of them, is that they can cast Deific Channel, which is normally a skill unlocked at level 225 by your faction High God class, so the tier 9 High God class. And it's normally a 3-turn skill, and it basically gives you a temporary buff that doubles all of your stats. So all your base stats, your defense, resistance, attack, magic, and dexterity, all of that gets doubled. So it's literally doubling your damage output, doubling your defenses, and yeah, okay, it's temporary. However, when the pet uses a skill, it's instant. So you get this Deific Channel on when the pet goes, and you know, these days they at least last 1 turn. Bare minimum, so kind of like 2 turns if you want. They used to sometimes only last 1 turn, but now you get a bit more out of it. And the buff chance is 3% for both pets, and really having the opportunity to get Deific Channel at tier 8, almost a full 2 tiers before unlocking it as an actual skill, is just it's just huge. Really recommend you picking this up. Even if you're new to tier 8, I recommend getting this before you get Pale Dragon, for sure. You will want to try and up your pet action rate, and you'll really start to see the benefits of Deific Channel. You know, a couple of Bestial Eyes, a Dragoon Charm, maybe some Fey Dragon gear. You know, if you can get this buff chance to, you know, the back at 10%, somewhere around 10%. It's not going to be up 10% of the time. It's going to be up more than that, because temporarily it will last, you know, multiple turns. So really awesome. A little bit of extra damage as well. Beast Strike, Fire Strike 3, Lucis Naturae. So you got a mixture of fire damage and dragon damage there as well. So, you know, potentially going to be finishing off some immune mobs in dungeons and stuff as well. Not to mention the 3% protect chance as well. So definitely get your hands on one of these if you're tier 8 or tier 9. If you're tier 7, really recommend trying to do your best to boost to tier 8 end of this month and get the orns needed for this pet. It's just absolutely awesome. And the tier 10 pet, the Ashen Phoenix, is basically the same thing on steroids, basically. I mean, yeah, most players will use it for Deific Channel, and the offensive skills are, you know, higher penetrating skills. It's got Lucis Naturae 3, which is not available to players currently in the game. Kind of a monstrous dragon dealing spell, and a couple of fire spells there as well. So it can do decent damage. And for Beowulfs, you know, definitely something to play around with. Issue you have with Beowulf is it will kind of overcast Deific Channel. And it can get a little bit annoying, I would say, but you know, you will definitely want to pick this up at tier 10 and kind of have it in your arsenal. Better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. That's for sure. So 2 awesome pets, definitely geared toward the end game. But then we have a couple of raids as well. These 2 raids are the same again. Ignore the Ashen Phoenix. We're looking at the 2 red phoenixes here, sorry. And these are both kingdom raids, and they can also appear, they can be summoned in the world as well. So, you know, unless your kingdom is not going through these really regularly, and you really for some reason want some of the gear, then I would personally save summoning scrolls this month. But if you're regularly using summoning scrolls, you can of course use them. So let's look at the tier 7 one first, and immediately you might want to know it's a bit annoying for Knights of Inferno kingdoms and players. Is immune to fire and is resist to lightning, so you will need other options. If you've got fire on your weapon, you'll need to sort something else there, either elementless or just use a different weapon. And also you definitely want to be fighting this with fire resistance and lightning resistance as well, and dragon resistance as well, to a lesser extent if you can. But the gear here, in terms of stats, they're not like particularly overpowered or really something you want to aim for, unlike the Scrooge gear from December, like the Jolly leggings and the top hat are almost best in slot for tier 5. So this raid does drop tier 5 gear, just the basic Phoenician stuff. The high Phoenician stuff is tier 7, I believe. And then the Arisen Phoenix, the tier 9 pet, also drops tier 9 gear as well. So it does scale. So even if you're not tier 7, you can get gear from this raid. And the shield is fairly nice, gives you immunity to burn and blind, I believe. Not too bad. But yeah, stat-wise, all of this gear and weaponry, it's kind of, well, I say weaponry, it's just the Phoenix song, but yeah, stat-wise is nothing special. If you get an ornate one, if you get something ornate for your class, by all means go ahead and upgrade. Can certainly be useful. The shields are probably one of the best items. And then we move on to the pinions, the orange pinion and the red pinion. And these are actually fairly interesting. Let's have a quick look in my actual inventory and not get the wrong pinion. So orange pinion goes in your weapon. You can get it from tier 5. Gives you some mana, which is actually pretty nice. Basic stats, but it does give you crit as well. It does cause burning as well. So personally, okay, you get a few of these at tier 5. Yeah, chuck some on your weapon. Get tiny bit of extra mana, tiny bit of offensive stats. I would probably be moving on to Broken Bestial Eyes at tier 6 from the Behemoth boss. And you can actually find the Behemoth boss from tier 5 out in the world. So the orange pinion, not the best, but the red pinion is actually pretty nice. So this is an armor pinion, an armor adornment with ward, and pay ward 1%. Also dexterity 12 dex, which is pretty nice. Bit of HP, bit of resistance, and because it does have ward on it, once you get any quality over standard, so any superior and above quality, that ward will be 2%, and it's actually very usable in the end game. If you don't have jewels at the end, etc., and it's only a tier 5 pinion. So for its tier, this adornment is actually god tier. So grab a few of these if you can before moving on to at the end of the month. And both the pets and these two raids were already in the game from previous years. So I believe we covered followers, we covered the raids. I mean, we can look at the tier 9 raid. Again, similar story, immune to fire, resistant to lightning. And you can see the gear is basically the same, except you now have the great standard gear. So that's like the tier 9 versions. And again, stat-wise, not the greatest for its tier. Shield is nice, so if you can get like a ornate great Phoenician shield or even a high Phoenician shield, can be useful in certain situations. I'd say the red pinion is probably the best thing that actually drops from this raid. Okay, so moving on to some new stuff. A couple of very interesting things. So there's new bosses and new monsters, all of which only appear in dragon roosts in the theme dungeons, so you want to be looking out for them this month. Make sure if you want to gain access to more dragon roosts, be sure to hop in the Orna Legends Discord. We've got plenty of people sharing dungeons there, all types of dungeons. You can even react to get the dragon roost roll. So if people ping in dragon roosts, they want to run dragon roosts, you can be notified immediately and jump in. So we have 2 bosses, and the first one, the Fallen Phoenix, tier 5, and the Fallen Ashen Phoenix, tier 9. Of course, with that yellow golden aura, the Fallen Ashen Phoenix, that means it can Godforge, remember. So more Godforge opportunities in Dragon Roosts alongside Glatisant for tier 9 and tier 10 players. That's always awesome to see. Seems like an ongoing theme now. Almost every month, if Odie's adding, or the Northforge team are adding new bosses, they tend to be able to Godforge, but he hides them in specific themed dungeons, which personally I'm really enjoying that. So this gear actually really interesting, and because so ember-plumed gear. Sorry, so this is all tier 5 gear, and again, stat wise, all of this stuff is nothing special. It's kind of like average range, as you'd expect for its tier. However, I wonder if we can find a set of this stuff. Just search for plumed, and okay, that is the tier 9 version. Okay, here we go. This is tier 5 version. Now you see this line here where it says gives temp attack up, temp magic up, defense and resistance up. So single arrow ups. Basically, this is when you do any action, whether you're buffing or using an attack. Basically, as long as you use a skill, you have the opportunity for one of these buffs to proc, or even multiple of these buffs to proc. It's a bit like using swordplay, actually. If you are Blade Master and you get the swordplay skill, you sometimes get the temp buffs. And so really interesting gear. Also note this adornment slots. It's got 5 slots, and this is only broken. And you might be, certain lifestyle players will be interested in my thoughts on where I'm going. I'll come to that in a second, talking about the naked players. But for me, this is a really interesting piece of gear. For tier 5, tier 6 players, definitely want to see if you can get your hands on like a decent set of this, because actually you have a lot of slots available, and the temp buffs. When you're doing raiding, when you're doing dungeons, and when you are getting into that sort of end of tier 6, tier 7 towards tier 8, you want to be increasing the amount of dungeons you're doing. You can be pumping out certain raids that give good XP. Maelor is a great raid for experience at tier 7 level. So if you can do that, if you can start pummeling him faster, doing more damage, lasting a bit longer, all of these buffs help, And again, the temporary buffs, they do last at least one extra turn these days, which is super nice. So really, really interesting gear. And as long as you're playing something this month, you'll notice all the gear has the same materials: silver, firestone, silver. Great time to stock up on these materials for ascension leveled players. We've got some more. So we've got the greaves here. You can see all the. You might notice I am collecting a certain quality gear, but I'll talk about the tier 9 gear as well, because while we're here, so we got the ashen-plumed boots, and you'll see it's basically the exact same thing, except the stats are a bit higher. So you have the same amount of adornment slots, the same buffs, and so it's the exact same story as to what I've just said. You do of course have upscale stats for tier 9, and I don't know if I have any. Yeah, I had the ashen-plumed garb here, so defense 172. So yeah, if you haven't guessed what I'm about to talk about, you've obviously not played Swash. These are all broken items, and really going to be quite an interesting piece for Swash. I think especially early game Swash players, where there's not so many options in your gear pieces. You know, maybe if you picked up smelly shoes, of course you can use smelly shoes. But generally there's like Alvin's hat, Salah's robe. I think getting like a broken ember-plumed chest, and even 2 pieces of gear, going to be a really nice option for Swash players. And then, you know, you actually get 5. You actually get, if you level up, you get like 8 or 9 dormant slots at Master Forge level, which is absolutely awesome. So you can pack armor dormants like Jewels of the Deep. Well, maybe not at tier 7, but you know, you can pack in some adornments. And I'm really gonna see if I can find some elemental pieces, even on my alt characters. Let's go back to the codex for a second. See where we were at. Well, yeah, I think Swash definitely an option. Even if, again, I said it a few minutes ago, but and by the way, Swash can definitely just aim for the tier 5 versions of this gear. Same dormant slots, no reason to give yourself extra defense to, unless you're playing like deity Swash. You can go for the mage gear in the higher quality from tier 9, but the buff's going to be giving at the same rate. And I think, as I said, it's better to have this gear and not need it than to suddenly think, oh, I want to make a build with this gear, but I didn't get a broken version, or I didn't get any versions of this gear. So, you know, Swash players, we are used to packing the inventory with a bunch of broken stuff. So yeah, you can get this gear, put it in the keep, save it for a rainy day. You want to try a different build. So that's the armor pieces from both of these bosses. You see just ember-plumed and ashen-plumed. But now let's talk about something really interesting and something really new. And that is these rubies. So the tier 5 Fallen Phoenix drops tier 5 ruby, and the tier 9 boss drops an ashen ruby version. So these are weapon adornments, and they basically introduce a new lifesteal mechanic into the game. And they basically work like a mini life siphon. So if you've played life siphon classes, Heretic, of course, and then even now Omnimancer, Nyx as well, you'll be used to the benefits of those types of builds. But just the general stats on the tier 9 version for weapon, you know, pretty solid stats. Actually for tier 9 and tier 5 as well. You know, stats are solid, but let's have a look at the description here. Jewel with a crimson glow. Adorning this upon a weapon will slightly heal your wounds when damaging an opponent. And it basically, I think each jewel has a chance to proc individually. And I think the proc chance is like 2%. I did see somebody worked it out the other day. I wonder if I can just find it somewhere. But basically and there's a difference between the two jewels. So the tier 5 version doesn't heal as much as the tier 9 damage. As the tier 9 Ashen Ruby. And I believe it's 2% lifesteal for each jewel on the Ashen Ruby, and maybe 1% on the tier 5 Ruby. And again, you stick a few of these in your weapon, and you know each one basically has a chance to proc. And if you want to see something really crazy, I'll link description. I'll link a video in the description to Gilgamesh soloing Arisen Morgan World Raid in less than 3 minutes using these rubies. Basically, really great for Gilgamesh at the moment, not having to use heal pots or use Osmo Strike. You know, when you're using Spike Shield, you're just going to heal up to basically full health if you're raiding. So I'm not sure that's the nerf Gilgamesh was expecting, but that's the nerf it's got. the balance patch. Yeah, no, this is you definitely want to pick up a few of these. In terms of endgame, definitely Gilgamesh, Heretic, and I would say those two kind of benefit the most from using these. Realm Shifter, Beowulf, you generally want to redline. Deity, maybe somewhere in the middle, but for the rest of the game, from tier 5 onwards, these might be best in slot for your weapons, honestly. I mean, how many times have you... Yeah, we're not going to be doing super amounts of damage, so you're not going to be healing that much, but if you use this over the course of a dungeon, it might save you a couple of turns instead of using healing potions over the course of a raid. It can help you there as well. Of course, in a raiding scenario, when you're already buffed up and using these, you're going to be doing more damage, obviously, so you're going to be healing more and more regularly. So definitely a really nice option. Mid-game definitely has options now, so you're actually going to maybe want to think about your builds a bit more if you want to use rubies, or if you want to use bestial eyes. You're going to have choices to make. Tier 8, do you want a bit more action rate from your Davic channel, from your pet, or do you want the lifesteal a bit more? Those are options. So I thought I would just end... nothing good there. So I was going to quickly end the video on actually running a Dragon Roost, see what we can find, because that's pretty much all items of interest for this month. So why don't we just fire into this Dragon Roost that I have cooked one up earlier. Got lucky this week on my dungeons, and yeah, we'll see if we can find these some of these Phoenicians, some of these Phoenixes. And yeah, I'm basically running this on my alt, tier 9 alt. Actually quite a nice tactic for Dragon Roosts. I really enjoy it for Dragon Roosts because it just filters out the tier 10 mobs, and there's nothing in this dungeon above tier 9 that I actually want to encounter. Basically, you have the Glatisant, obviously, for the questing gear and possible Godforging chance, and then the new bosses are tier 5 and tier 9. The fallen Ashen Phoenix is tier 9. So there's our first Phoenicians. Okay, yeah, we got some Phoenicians there. They are quite common in Dragon Roost. I do believe they can spawn out in the world, actually, the normal Phoenician mobs. So potential there, but really, if you want to target farm these guys, you want to be doing Dragon Roosts for sure. Again, ideally in a party, you're more likely to see more of the mobs in a party, or if you can handle horde mode as well, obviously, go for that. But it's really the boss gear that myself is after personally, and recommend for you. So here's a Phoenix. The alt finishes it off. So we did get an Ashen Ruby. So they are fairly rare. You won't get an Ashen Ruby from every Phoenix. So you're likely going to be running quite a few of these dungeons this month, just to get your numbers up on the adornments, on the gear as well. If you're hunting a certain quality of gear, of course. I've got my broken auto dismantle option ticked off for swash, the swash gear. I think I'll definitely cook up a set of this stuff for swash, but this dungeon didn't seem to be going super well. Only 2 Godforged chances and only 1 Phoenix until now, and that's how it's going to end. Yeah, a bit unfortunate. However, we can run it again because I'm in a party. So why don't we do that? Let's see if we can finish on a slightly better dungeon. I mean, it's a bit strange why Dragon Roost, the Glatisant encounter specifically, is so much rarer compared to like the Balder encounter. I don't really understand it. I mean, maybe he wants to keep the questing gear rarer. But I don't know. I mean, Venom wasn't really rare for warriors and thieves and melee users until now, so I don't really get it personally. But it is what it is. At least there's additional bosses in here for at least for this month. There we go. It's tier 5, and we got ornate ember-plumed hood. So believe that is the mage version. So yeah, maybe like a deity swash with, of course, with like the Davic channel proccing from yourself every now and then, and you get all these buffs proccing as well. Could be fun. Could be interesting. No ashen ruby that time. Got the broken draconian boots though. Not even sure they have dormant slots actually. Would love to get an awesome drop these last 5 floors, or a god forge, or something. Please. There's the we got the tier 5 ornate ember-plumed hood, and we got the tier 9 ashen-plumed hood in the same dungeon. That's pretty awesome. Oh, we got the garb as well. Okay. This wasn't planning on getting the ornates of all the gear, but we'll take it. If we ever want to do a non-swash build, we could do a buffing build. Pair it with the Arisen Asker gear. Alright, there we go, that's done. Didn't get anything decent at the end of the dungeon there, so yeah, I hope this video was useful, guys. Another January, another Rise of the Phoenix event. Good luck to everyone for the month, getting your gear, of course, getting your followers. Make sure if you're tier 8 and above, and you want to get the pets this month, yeah, hop into Orna Legends, please. Everybody is welcome. There's always plenty of folk sharing pets and stuff, so you can grab the Ashen Phoenix and the tier 8 Phoenix as well this month. And on top of that, would like to, of course, thank all of the Arisen Orna Legends supporting the Orna Legends content on from Twitch and Patreon as well. Really appreciate the support of all you guys, and just want to thank you. 2022, we're still going strong. It's been about a year now. We've been making Orna videos, and we're still going. So let's keep it up. Pretty hyped for this year, and more Orna content on the way. So thanks again. Thanks to you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao.